one other thing I have thought about, which was kind of funny, and I wanted to mention here, um, bringing us closer to God was a lot of what Jesus was. He was an intercession. But don't forget that we believe that he was God too. And the one thing that's really special about our faith is that Jesus came and made us his friend. He said, now I make you my friend. And that's in John. And he talks about it. I don't think there's any other religion on earth that makes God our friend. But also I want you to remember that our concepts, we do not have the mind of God. And I think that we should start kind of trying to think like God. You know, we label things as good or bad, but really what's good or bad is inside of us. It's inside the hearts and minds of men. Remember Adam and Eve were naked in the Garden of Eden? Was God bad because he created them and had them naked in the Garden of Eden? No, because God had the mind of God, and their nakedness was not bad. We're the ones who look at it that way, and only because our minds and hearts are not in tune and in line with God's. There's nothing wrong with us as beings. Nakedness is not evil. Maybe it is now in this world, you know, and maybe we'll have to wait till the second coming. But try to remember that. All is good with God. God is good. Adam and Eve were naked and it was good. So you have to remember to try to think more like God. Now, I don't want you to think I'm only about religion, because I'm not. I have a degree in international relations, and I have a lot to say about the law, about Congress, about Senate, about how this country is being run. I remember when someone made a comment in one of my classes about, well, you don't see very many, it had to do with poor labor, and he said that he knew of someone, that was it, that it was the son of crop, someone that was working on a farm. I think they were picking fruit, and they may have been immigrants, and he became a dentist, and he did better, and he was like, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's all right, but do you see very many dentists' kids becoming crop pickers? I mean, what I'm saying is that the rich are automatically getting the opportunity, and I think it's getting worse, including our talents. So, you know, someone may really be able to sing or write. They may be great authors or playwrights or screenwriters, but they're not getting a chance because, you know, hey, I'm not the senators. I'm not one of the lucky ones. I'm not a senator's son. I'm not the director's son. I'm not going to mention any names, but, you know, I see people who, you know, they get advantages in their life because their parents already had it and theirs before them. And that's, to me, that's just another form of monarchy. We have our lords and ladies, and they inherit the wealth. We're supposed to be able to work for it and get it here. And I think that that's starting to go out the door. So, yeah, I have a lot to say about religion, but also about the secular world, you know, society. Racism, you know, racism isn't whites against blacks or, you know, one particular color. It is about any person that is prejudiced or hates another person for the color of their skin, mostly, but there can also be a hate there because of religion or gender. I know that a friend of mine recently told me about a story she had heard where upper middle class housewife had become homeless, and she was white, and she had a little girl with her, and she had to go to some shelters, and she was really abused psychologically, mostly, just treated poorly by the blacks in the shelter because they were prejudiced against her for being white. And that's a real sad thing when that happens. Also, it's sad to see whites prejudiced against blacks. I can tell you that in a state divided amongst itself is going to make it weak. A house divided. And America needs to start, well, okay, it would be great if we could have Americans love one another, wouldn't it? But at least see each other as just other Americans. Well, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, or your religion, or your gender. You're an American, and we need to stick together. We need to be Americans with each other. And if you go global, then everyone from each country should look at their fellow countrymen in that manner. And hopefully, eventually, we'll say, the human race. Look at another person based on humanity, that I'm going to respect and follow social rules or rule of law to uphold humanity in a good way, not in a bad way, but in a good way. Not all that sneaking around, or making laws just so that we can sneak around and break them. Just make sure you give me enough money under the table. I'm not going to say that I know for sure that's going on. I'm just going to say that, well, maybe politicians are corrupt, and maybe people say, well, that's just the way it is. But, we can't pass a law that tells people how to think and feel. All of our laws are about ways to act. So, you have to think and feel on your own. And I'm hoping that people will stop looking at another person and immediately judging them as good or bad. Stop judging by appearances. A person is a person. Most of the time, if you've got a problem with them, actually, I think that what you ought to do first is see how you can help them. If they're doing something wrong, maybe you can do it for them or show them how. It's not all about, well, you're just bad and I don't want to have anything to do with you. So people need to care about one another, or our world is going to fall apart. We're so divided in all our little prejudices. But, middle class America needs to wake up and say, there's people out there that may hate me just based on my gender or race, color, and I don't want to see that. I have children. I want a better world for them. I want them to be able to live as humans in humanity. I know that we must love one another. Has not a lot of clout in the secular world. The secular world wants to make sure that our economy is okay. The secular world wants to make sure that the hospitals are there, the roads are there, the libraries, the schools. And we're all on automatic. We're on this treadmill that's just taking us straight to the future, whether we like it or not. And it's destructive. In '92, there was a world conference on the environment. Rio de Janeiro. I believe it was a UN conference, where they said that there had to be a major change in our social and economic functions, how we live, or the earth was just going to die. Nobody ever does anything. We just live there. We live this way. So we keep doing things the same, and even though all of the world professionals tell us we have to change, and no one ever does anything. And I think that's wrong. I think that we need to do something about how we live as humans. But you can't do anything until you're together. You have to be united. And prejudice doesn't have a place in that. When you love one another, you love a